Okay, and I think I'm streaming here. Let me see if I'm in okay. Stream will start soon. Okay, so it looks like we're in. So hello everybody, and let me see if I can get, I can share here. So let me turn off the sound here. So hang on one second. Okay, much better. So let's click this over and do this and go like this and get rid of me right here and get up our schedule. So hello everybody, welcome to our little practice session here today. And hopefully you're able to log in and see what I'm seeing right now. And what I'm going to do is actually jump on a separate computer here for a minute. And what I'll do is be able to answer your questions as they come in. And I don't know if Paul and Steve are going to make it, but that's okay if they can't get their audio working, because this is really just more about people being able to log in. So let me get that all together. And in the meantime, I can put up a schedule and show you guys all of what's going on here. You know, for the next couple days. So putting up on the screen right now, let me make it big so everybody can see it. There we go. So here's the schedule of events and what's coming up this weekend. But again, if you can actually see me right now, it means that you're logged in properly, which is a great thing. And so that's working, and that's really the most important thing, is that you can see what's going on here. So cool. Let me actually go and grab a PC so I can go and answer your other questions here and make sure that we're streaming this okay and that you all can hear me okay, because that is a critical factor. Okay, so I see there's about 20 folks right now in the chat, so you can see I just said hi everyone, so hopefully people can see. And if you're here and you want to type in that little chat at the bottom of the box, feel free to. That's a place where you're going to be during the lectures, where you can type stuff in and so forth. So feel free to respond to me as you see me typing in that box. And again, hopefully there aren't too many people who are showing up here tonight. I'm just doing this sort of for giggles to make sure if anybody has any problems that they can resolve them tonight. So we shall see. Okay, so I'm just answering questions from people already, asking, you know, what if I log in a little bit late, is that okay? And the answer is yes, this is just for fun. You know, nothing mandatory about this at all. And meanwhile, Paul is on, but he is muted. He doesn't, he's got to unmute his Zoom. So maybe I can help him with this. Okay, I just asked him to unmute. Let's see if he can figure it out. Still muted. Still muted, so anyway.
Okay, am I unmuted now?
Oh, there you go. Congratulations.
Okay, there's a mute button on the left. I don't know where the, on this Verschlugene laptop, where the sound volume is.
Hey, that's
however.
a nice laptop. Give your laptop some credit. It's gotten you through this painful 2 weeks.
So just barely. Every time I touch it, the letters jump.
Oh dear.
Anyway, is there a volume button on this thing?
A volume button? In what regard?
Maybe if I wanted to make it louder or softer.
I honestly can't tell you because
You can
I'm not.
control it, okay, so you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you just fine.
Okay, so now that you can hear me, I have nothing to say. The only, but somebody at the last minute had a question.
Yep.
Are the courses identical this time around to last time?
And the
She was
answer,
concerned, or
yeah,
he was concerned.
the answer is yes. They are identical. So we do. I'll put up the schedule again so everyone can see it to understand what it is that we're doing here and the philosophy. So if I put this up so you can see it. So here's the schedule for this weekend. And you'll notice it's got the same 60 credits. In fact, there's one more class this time than there was last time. Dr. Malaiti wasn't able to show up last time, so we've added in his Chilesi lecture this time that wasn't there. But for the most part, everything is the same. And if you'll notice that everything's kind of in the same place, schedule-wise. So the idea is that last time you could sit straight through and get 20 credits. This time you can go in and take a different 20 credits. When you come back in June, should you decide to come back, you can take another 20 credits. And if you missed anything in the interim, you can come back in September and do it one more time and get credits then. So that's why it's the same classes over and over again, because it's impossible to take more than 20 at a time, right? So that's why we do 60 each time, so you can come back those other times and get the rest of the credits. That's the whole idea, because I don't think there's any state or province. I'm trying to think if there's any that require any more than 60 synchronous hours. I don't think there are. So we want people to be able to get all their CE done in one fell swoop, if that makes sense. So yeah, you can see the schedule is pretty full. What we may do at the June show, if there's more, you can see we have a couple hours here at the bottom. We may be able to add more if new things come up, if we want to, have a couple more lecturers come in. So we leave those a little bit open. But for the most part, this is going to be the same as last time. And I'm noticing, just looking online, I'm seeing that people are able to get in. They're doing a good job. So far, nobody's sent out a distress call to me that I can see having trouble getting in, which is great. And there's 30 people here right now, as far as I can count. So that's good too.
Can you show them where the notes are, if somebody wants to talk to us?
Right, so they can easily see it in the left, on the right-hand side of the screen. You can see that there's a chat window there. So you can always just click on the chat window, and
okay, let's chat.
Yeah, it's on the right side of the screen. It says now showing.
I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, on here it was on the bottom. Okay, so.
Yep. So we got a few people who've said hi. So it all seems to work. So I'm typing in, it all seems okay so far, to show people that indeed this is working. Yeah.
I hope somebody asks a question.
Well, this is really more just to sit here and, to give people an opportunity to test their system out. So one thing people can do, on the left side of the screen, you'll see there's a link there that says Browse. So if you click on the Browse link on the left, you'll actually leave the lobby here, so you won't be able to hear me anymore unless you pop open a new window to do it. But if you click on Browse and then Show More Results, you can actually start to see the classes that are going on. I'll actually do a little bit of that browsing right now to show you what I mean. So let me actually, this is going to look a little weird because I'm doing it, but let me show you. So if you go to Browse right here, and you guys should be able to see it in my browser window, what I'm putting up there. So click on Browse. You can then view all the stuff that's going to be coming up in chronological order. So you can see that there's things over here. You can see it's showing the 7 a.m. classes first, and then it shows the 8 a.m. classes and the 9 a.m. classes, but 7 a.m. Pacific time, sorry, I don't want to scare anyone. So if you're on the East Coast, the classes start at 10 a.m., but here on the West Coast, they start at 7. So you can see this is a chronological list, and if you click Show More Results, it'll show you more. It'll show you all the classes and when they start. So what you can actually do is, if you want to have it remind you about a particular class, like let's say that you want to go to this cataract surgery class, the system can remind you. If you click on that date right there, it can add it to your Google or Yahoo calendar, right? So then it'll be an event in your calendar, so then you won't forget to show up for it. and it'll actually give you a link straight back into that lecture when it starts. So that's what that little functionality is with that little plus there, where she shows you calendar with a plus. You can add it to your calendar. So some people like to do that, right? They come to this practice session I mean, basically you guys can log in at any time. You don't need to be here right now with this practice session. When I'm done, the lobby will close, but this ability to browse this area will be here right up and through Saturday. So you can always come back here, browse. If you want to add the classes to your schedule, you can. So feel free to come and do it. So yeah, so the software, not too much has changed, I think, from a user perspective from the last time that we did this till now. You can get a sense of the software and how it works. Again, most people are familiar with the left menu where you can look for transcripts. You can look at your assessments. So that's where you can look to see surveys that you may or may not have finished, right? So all the classes are listed here with the surveys that you need, right? So survey, synchronous classes require surveys and not quizzes. So just remember, when you're watching this stuff synchronously, right? When you come on Saturday, you watch a lecture, you go into its room, you watch, it's not right there yet, but you watch a lecture, and once you're finished watching, you just fill out the survey for that particular lecture. And that's how it works. So pretty straightforward. Other than that, there's not really too much going on here right now. Again, there's links to on-demand videos. Those are actually going to go down. That's probably a warning I should give people, that the on-demand classes are going to go down tomorrow. We take them down before the live event to get everything ready for the live session on Saturday. So just be aware tomorrow the on-demand events are going to go down, so you won't see that link tomorrow. So Terrence writes here, first time will be tomorrow for me. The first class I take will be at Saturday at 7:45 p.m. Will I be able to log in just several minutes early? And where would I click on the class I want? Will it be on the home page? So the answer is yes. So if you log in at this home page, what you're going to see tomorrow if you go home is, let me actually show you. If you go home, the first classes, the classes that are about to happen, where it says live and upcoming streams, you'll see it right up here. So you'll get that most recent list of what's happening. So tomorrow, what you should see is that class coming up here. And if it doesn't, if you save that class, if you click add to calendar and add it to your calendar, it will actually also give you a direct link that you can use at that time to log into the class. So that'll be waiting for you as well. And Jody asked a great question. Will the survey immediately pop up or do I have to look for it? So Jody, great question. The link to the survey will be right beneath the video. So you'll see a thing that says survey. It'll be right beneath it and also on the right side at the top of the chat box. So it'll be very obvious and plain to you that the survey is right there. Each survey only takes about a minute or two to fill out. You'll find you'll get really good at it because there aren't that many questions. The survey is really just there to act as a feedback mechanism for us to know if the lecture was good or not. And it's for the speaker really as well to know if the lecture was good or not. So there are no quiz questions or anything like that. It's just straight feedback, multiple choice mostly. There's a box you can fill in with text if you feel like it to give them sort of verbal feedback. And yeah, it'll be right there beneath each lecture as you take it. So typically the way it works is that when people get into the Q&A period of each talk and there's a little back and forth with the speaker, they'll click the survey then and just finish it up right at the end because it only takes a minute or two. And William asked a question, I think you just said this, but I log on to the class I want to take and the survey afterwards in order to receive COPE credit. So that is correct. So you must, according to Arbo now, we follow their rules, you have to watch the whole lecture, right? So you got to sit there and watch the whole thing, make sure you don't close the video window or do anything weird. Just sit there and watch. And at the end, click on survey, fill out the entire survey. If you do those two things, you will get credit for the lecture. Now let's say something gets messed up and I forgot to do a survey. You can always go to the assessments page, which is right here on the left side of the screen. You can see where I'm wiggling my cursor. Click on assessments. It'll give you the full list of all the courses that are out there, right? And show you if you've completed it or if you see where it says status on the right side of the screen, it'll show you if you've completed the course or if you've only done half of what you needed to, like, you watched it, but you didn't fill out the survey. And then, so if you didn't fill out the survey, you can then just click View Assessment right here, and you can start taking it. So for instance, this one's for the corneal scleral profilometry lecture. If I click on View Assessment, it'll then bring the assessment up, right? And then you can start it and take it here. So sometimes what happens to people is, let's say a lecture runs long and they immediately need to go to the next lecture. It's okay because you can always come back to assessments, just find the class from your list, click on View Assessment, and take it there. Now you'll see that it says surveys and quizzes here. So I want to just make it really clear again, and we make it clear on Saturday as well. For synchronous, meaning live stuff, you only need to take the survey. Do not worry about taking any quizzes for synchronous classes. It's just the survey that's required by COPE this year. For the on-demand classes, you have to complete the survey. Okay, so Jody said, I didn't get credit for a lecture last time. How am I assured? So Jody, what you can do is if for some reason, like let's say you thought you maybe finished the assessment but you didn't, you can actually go back right now to the survey and see if you didn't finish it. Go into that assessments page and go look at the status of that course that you're talking about and see what happened. See if for some reason it didn't monitor you as watching the whole thing, which could be an issue, or see if you just didn't finish the assessment. If you didn't finish the assessment, you can do it right now, the survey. You can fill it out right now and finish that survey so that it'll award you credit. You can always go back and do that. Now, for some reason, if it didn't detect as watching the video, that's a more complicated problem. So ARBO mandates that we have to make sure that people are actually watching the content. And if for some reason our system didn't pick you up as watching it, all you have to do is let us know. You just send an email to me at support@CEwire2023.com. And I can look and try to see what happened, right? Like let's say occasionally it happens where people will try to watch these things on their cell phones and they'll cut out in the middle. So they'll have these like little blips like every few minutes where it cuts out, and our system really gets mad at that because it's trying to watch you to make sure that you're actually still there. So sometimes it might undercount the amount of minutes you actually watch. So in that case, just drop me an email, support@CEwire2023.com, and we'll fix it for you. Not a big deal. And again, Dr. Bach is asking a question here. Can you explain asynchronous and how it's tied to the quiz? Yes. So for asynchronous lectures, all you have to do is go to on-demand videos, and I'm assuming the on-demands are still up here. Maybe, maybe not. Oh, okay, good. They're still here. So if you click on on-demand videos, you'll get a link to all the on-demand videos from the conference, right? And when you click on one, like let's just say I click on this one about systemic benefits of cataract surgery, it'll then start the lecture. And I don't want to actually start it because you're going to hear me blabbing away because I have a little message before each lecture. So you have to sit through that entire asynchronous lecture. And then when you're done, notice on the right side of the screen here, it says quiz, take now. You can click that link to take the quiz, or there's a link right here at the bottom, quiz. Click either of those and it'll take you to the quiz for that particular lecture. And then you can take that quiz. And if you get a 70% or higher and you've sat through the entire lecture, remember the system watches to make sure that you've actually watched the whole thing, so don't fast forward, don't try to get through it quickly or whatever. But if you do those two things, the system will then award you credit for that lecture. To check on your credits for the lecture, you can always go over to transcripts and you can see what you've gotten credit for. Now my account, I probably don't have too many since I'm usually just here blabbing, but you can actually see all of your credits that you've earned. So you can see my transcripts here. If it says in progress, what that usually means is that you've watched something but haven't finished a survey, and then you can always go in and view the details and then take the survey as well. So these are just sort of the transcripts that you can look at that are in progress. People often ask, well, what about like printable transcripts, like stuff that I can actually use to submit to my state? We keep those in a separate area. So these transcripts here are more just like for FYI as you're taking the weekend or you're doing the on-demand lectures. But permanently, we archive your transcripts as well here. So if you go to CEwire2023.com, you'll see a green link at the top of the page that says certificates. If you click on it, it'll take you to the certificate center. Whoops, I'm not logged in. Let me log in. And you have to be logged in, obviously, to get to it. And then you pick the event that you want your transcripts for. So let's say CEwire 2023 2023 as an example. You click on it. Now, I have no certificates, but had I actually completed a class, you can click on, it'll show you a list of all the ones you've completed, and you can click on View Transcript, and it'll give you also a single printable page where you can download your transcript. So that's always going to be available to you now and into the future. You can always come to this transcript center on ODwire and get your stuff. And again, the way to get to it is just to go to CEwire2023.com and click on Certificates, the green link at the top. So those will always be there for you permanently. So it's a little bit different than we did it in the olden days, where the system wasn't really automated enough and we couldn't make those downloadable certificates available permanently. Well, now they're permanent. From the 2022 event on, or actually from NORA 2021 on, those certificates are always there for you permanently. So you'll never have to ask me for them. They're just there. They live actually inside of ODwire, which hopefully will be here forever. So that's where the certificates are going to be. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. So I don't know, Paul, do you think I just made sense? And Paul's gone. So I'm talking just to you folks out there. Paul has left me. So. But again, if you have any more questions, feel free to type them into the chat box on the right side of the screen. That's going to be the primary way that you communicate during CEwire. Like if you have questions, support questions during the event, like let's say you're having an issue with something, the very best thing to do to get help immediately is going to be to go in to the lobby, right? And then chat with us in real time, because we're going to be here for all 20 plus hours this weekend, available in real time to you. And the very best way to get my attention and the attention of all of our support staff is to come into the lobby and just start typing and asking for help. You can obviously also send an email to support@CEwire2023.com, and I'll keep a window open checking those support emails as well. But really the fastest and best way is to come into the lobby here if you need help, because we'll be here for you the whole time. And so don't worry about, if you think credits didn't record or didn't get recorded properly, we're always here to fix whatever might go wrong. Just to let you know, I mean, the system itself has processed tens of thousands of hours of credits already from the first event, so it works really, really well. The only problems that we've seen, or that I've seen, I guess, support-wise over these past couple of months, have just been like when people have tried to do the event with their cell phones. That seems to be the biggest thing, where sometimes if they have dropouts, the system gets confused and it's like, hey, I saw they were here watching a lecture, now they're gone. Should I give them credit or not? But if your connection's good, usually the system's pretty good about keeping track of what's going on. The only other problems that people have had, and again, it's kind of an interesting issue because we can't reliably replicate this problem, but as you can see when you go to the home page, it shows you sort of what lectures are upcoming. And if you go into a lecture, perhaps you even did this when you came to the lobby today. It says the lobby hasn't started yet and it has a countdown timer. So it's supposed to start the video automatically, and for many of you here, I'm sure it did. It automatically started streaming me as soon as we came on the air. But sometimes it gets stuck and it doesn't start streaming automatically. And the funny thing is, it's a difficult problem to fix. And I've worked with the engineers on this, but I've even had it happen where one computer that I've had here will automatically start the lecture, and others it'll just sit there until I hit refresh. So the key thing to know is if it sticks like that, just hit the refresh button in your browser, right? Hit reload or F5, and then it'll start. It's hard to know why it's actually happening. And in fact, it happens not just to us, but other streaming platforms as well. If you subscribe like to MLB.com for Major League Baseball, it actually happens to me on some of my computers here, where it won't automatically start the video and it drives me crazy, or it'll get stuck on a commercial and never get me back to the game. And I have to hit refresh to actually get back to my baseball game 5 minutes late, right? There's already one out by the time I get back into it. So it's a difficult problem to troubleshoot, but it happens to a minority of people. But if it happens to you, just remember, if you think a lecture should be running and you're like, hey, this should have started 5 minutes ago, just hit refresh. And it'll get the lecture going for you again. So hopefully that makes sense.
Ad, where is the thing to send a question? I wrote down any questions. I like to send it, but I don't know where the arrow is.
So I'm not sure what you mean on which page. So
The meeting chat. Meeting chat is blank, and I put a question in just to see if it works, and I don't know how to send it out.
right. So I'm not sure on your computer. Obviously, I can't see you. I don't know what you're doing, and it sounds like you even had trouble getting Zoom working today. So it's a challenge. But for everybody else, right at the bottom, it says send a message, and you just hit enter when you're ready to send it, and it sends. It's very
There's a
easy.
send button on everybody else. Okay.
Yes, and you just hit enter and it sends. So it's not a difficult thing to do. So you can see I just typed in this is the chat, and then my chat comes up. So yep. So it's a pretty straightforward system. So trying to look here and see if there's anything else that I can show folks. I guess the other thing that you can do is if you have questions after the event is over, remember the forums are always open. Each lecture has a discussion thread associated with it. So you can go into the CEwire private discussion forum, and you'll notice here, this list, these are all the different lectures, and each one has a discussion thread, and you're automatically logged into this when you log into CEwire, because you're in your ODwire account, and you can then type a question to the speaker here. And when you type a question for the speaker here, they'll get your message, and then they can actually try to come back and respond to you. So it's a pretty neat system. If you have a question that you forgot to ask in real time, or if you ran out of time and the speaker didn't get around to it, you can always come into the forum thread for each particular class and ask it there. And again, the link to each thread is right when you're in the class. There's a link that'll say forum thread, and it'll take you right to the particular class that you're in. So pretty neat stuff. I highly recommend using it, because even after the course is over, remember we're rerunning this several times, so this conversation is going to continue on all year. So that's kind of a cool thing. You can always come back and engage in more conversation later throughout the year. So highly recommend doing it. In fact, if you have a question that you can think of right now before the lectures even start, you can ask it today, and perhaps the speaker can address it in their chat on Saturday or Sunday. So pretty cool. And just looking ahead here, just trying to see what people are seeing. We still have about 25 people here watching along, which is great. But that's interesting. So I have the ability now to pin messages at the top of the chat.
25, they're not anonymous. They can introduce themselves if they wish.
Sure.
In the meeting chat.
Absolutely. Yeah, if people want to. And in fact, most people do. Not so much here in the lobby, because we're obviously just going to be going back and forth and having fun. But during the classes, most people, or a lot of people, do say hi when they enter, just so the speaker knows that they're there. So that makes the speaker feel good too, knowing that there are folks around. So one thing that you may have noticed too about the system, the way it's set up right now, the performance in terms of the speed is better and been improving since we first deployed this. I guess it was over a year ago now. There's constant revisions going on, so you can see that the chat messages come up faster, the pages load faster. Everything is designed to be maximally responsive, especially because we have we could conceivably have 3,000 people here, right? Like, think of the last one, the peak number of people we had in the 3 rooms was over 2,000, I think, at one time. So we have to design the system so that it's going to be fast enough for folks. So you may notice that if you actually took NORA 2021 and CEwire 2022, you'll notice that CEwire 2023 is faster. The pages load faster. So pretty neat stuff. One other thing I didn't mention too, the handouts. There's a full list of handouts. If you go to a class's lecture as well, and actually I wanted to ask Audentio about that, so I'm going to I'll put this up. Sorry, I have a question that I'm asking the technical people right now. wonder even from the company who's here today. So I'm going to ask Ian a question over here in Slack. Okay, so Dr. Bach asked another question. When does the synchronous surveys need to be completed in case lectures run? Is it okay to jump into a lecture late and does it still count? Okay, so those are two separate questions, right? So there's two separate issues here. There's the survey issue, and there's the actual taking the class issue, right? So those are two totally separate things. So I guess the first issue is the assessment. So you can take a survey for the live class at any point. So let's say that you watched a class live, but you didn't have time to fill out the live survey. You can come back whenever you feel like and take that live survey anytime afterwards. So just come back and do it whenever you feel like you have time. In terms of actually watching the lecture, don't show up late for a live lecture because that increases your risk of not getting credit for it. There's a little bit of slack built into the system just between us friends here so that, you know, if you miss the first few minutes, it's not going to ding you for missing the whole thing. Very much like a real lecture, right, where people sort of file into the class the first 5 minutes. We do the same thing here, right, because occasionally what will happen is that people will go into the wrong class, right? There's 3 classes going on at the same time. They might go, oh my gosh, I went into the wrong class. I don't want to do this. I want another class. So we give you a little bit of slack for the first few minutes, but try to get to each class on time if you can, because that'll increase your odds of getting credit for it. So hopefully that makes sense. And right now I have a question here for Ian, which I just asked him, that a lot of the classes right now are set to private in the system, and they should not be. They're just set that way, I think, right now, because we're sort of in a demo mode. So if I go sort of here, let's go to browse all the classes. So if I go to like this, it's not really showing anything right now. It's not giving me any details. Nothing's appearing here. And I think that's just because we haven't really set everything up yet for the real thing. Yeah, unable to access. So there's definitely issues going on right now with being able to see the classes before they start streaming. But by the time the event starts, if you click on any class, even if it's not running yet, you'll get to that class's page, and you'll be able to do things like download its handout and also add it to your calendar and so forth. But yeah, it's just not there yet. So we will get there. Okay, so other than that, though, hopefully we're answering most people's questions. Again, if anybody has a question, feel free to fire away. That's what we're here for. Again, the handouts, if you click on the left side of the screen, you can also get to a list of all the handouts for each class. So if you want to download handouts, you can just search on the name of the class, and you can easily download all the handouts. But again, on the classes page, inside of CEwire itself, if you bring up the class, if you click on it, you're going to see a link that'll say download handout. Again, those aren't available right now. They will be by tomorrow, though. So you can download all the handouts beforehand. So maybe tomorrow you come back, you pick what it is that you want to watch, you download the handouts, and then on Saturday morning, you'll be in good shape and ready to go. So that should do it. And again, if you need the schedule, right here on the left side of the screen, you can see where it says schedule. That is a link to a printable schedule. So I hesitate to mention this because I'm not a huge fan of printing stuff. However, when I created the schedule, I explicitly made it so that it is printable. So it's printable. It's 4 pages long. It's a PDF, so it's real easy to print out. But I did it so that you can print it. So some people like to actually print this out and have it with them. during the conference, just so they can have a print copy of it, so they can maybe circle what they want to take beforehand, so they'll know where they're going and what they're doing, or X out what you've already taken. Some people cross stuff off. So yeah, that's what I would recommend. Printing it out if you can. I know, Paul, you love printing things out, so that's why I made it this way. And so Jake was asking me a question. Jake, I'm just going to click around. So Jake, if you're in the lobby and listening, I'll show you. So right now, from the lobby, I'm browsing classes here. If I do something like click on starting scleral lenses, made simple, restricted access. So I think this lecture was set private. If I go to a different one, unable to access. So these I think were all set private, which is why I can't see them right now. But then there's another weird one, right? Like, so if I click on this one, when good things go bad, it says restricted access. So same deal. Yeah. So these right now I think are all set to private. I think that's what's happening. We have to activate them before, hopefully tomorrow we'll activate them so people can then get into each class. And this one's saying video is unavailable, which is an even more cryptic message. So again, for Jake, for your purposes, I'll just click around to show you. So, starting scleral lenses made simple, restricted access, so that was set private. Unable to access this one. Able to access. Trying to find
Why
out.
did the booth change position?
Video is unavailable. Why does what?
The booths. Then they don't always go 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, so those numbers are just the classroom that it's in. That's all. So it's chronological. If you've noticed, you can see here it says Saturday at 7, Saturday 7, Saturday at 7. So that's the first hour. Then right beneath it, Saturday 8:05, Saturday 8:05, Saturday 8:05, right? So
Yeah.
it's just showing you in chronological order all the classes. So that's all this is. I see. So yeah, so Jake is well, what am I hearing? I'm hearing myself. Jake is giving me he's looking at the issue right now. What's actually happening, if you look on the screen, I'm actually logged in as a normal person right now. So I'm logged in as me. This is my usual regular account. But I also have an administrator account, and all the folks at Audentio, of course, are administrators, so they're logged in as administrators, and they probably see something different than regular users see, and that's probably why we're getting those permissions errors. But those will all be worked out by tomorrow. So by tomorrow, you can actually see all the lectures, download all the handouts, and and so forth, and even have links to the surveys as well. But yeah, they're looking at that right now. So yeah, this is why we do the tests, right? This is why we do the tests. Okay, so far so good. And one question I had, just jumping in here, let's see, is in the lobby, one feature that I was hoping that they would enable is URLs. Let's see, I'm going to type something in. Oh yes, look at that, it works now. So we had a configuration error at the last event where in the chat window you couldn't actually type URLs in. Now you can. So you can put clickable links right in the chat as well. This was frustrating for speakers who were trying to link out to other content during their chats, and now you can do it. Oh, it looks like Steve is here for the Zoom. Let me let him in. Let's see if he can get in here. Oh, there we go. Hey, Steve.
Got to unmute him. He's still on mute.
So, Steve, you got to unmute yourself.
I'm unmuted now.
Yep.
Mine says unmute.
Yep.
Good, you hear me?
We can hear you. Yep.
Great. I just did an astronomy program with my grandson and the softball game. I'm tired, but I got here. Everything going smoothly?
Yeah, so far so good. I mean, there's just these little ditzels, right? These little things that, come up like permissions problems. But that's why we do the testing, right? I mean, that's why we do this the day before, 2 days before. So
I got into answer some questions also. People have the same questions. They don't know what's synchronous, asynchronous. They don't know about the surveys, etc. But you answer them all.
yeah, it's new for people, right? So for some people, it's it's good that we're actually doing this and they have the ability to come in and check a day beforehand, right? Because who wants to get stuck on the day that we're actually giving this thing? So,
Steve, can you put on meeting chat? Can you say something? I'd like to see it up.
Could I put it up?
Just
I have to
put something in the chat box. I want to see if
Okay,
you
I'll go to
say
you.
something.
can make you guys a little bigger here.
You see it?
Testing, yeah. What button you push? I can't find the button on this stupid laptop.
Just enter the enter button.
Yeah, just hit enter.
Which one?
Enter. Dad, your laptop has enter.
There would be an enter button.
But how about carriage return?
Yeah.
I'm not making fun of you, I promise. But
I got all sorts of things there. Mute, stop video.
No, Dad, on your keyboard.
On my keyboard,
hit
just
enter.
hit enter.
Enter right above.
Okay, I see enter. Let me just.
So for
Any questions?
type a word in first.
Hit enter. Ah, okay.
No. So, Dad, you're not doing this right.
But,
So, that's okay. So here's the problem. You're in the totally wrong place. So no, don't worry about it. It's all good.
Yeah, you're not in Audencio's.
Yeah, he's not actually in the conference. So I now see what he's doing. He was in Zoom, and yeah, don't worry about it. Just stay where you are. It's fine.
I'm going to the conference now, and I was answering questions in the conference, though.
Yes,
and,
correct.
log in.
Yeah, so Dad, it's okay. You stay right where you
I'm
are.
okay.
Don't touch anything, because the more you touch, the greater likelihood of.
I'll keep it that way. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But you see me now, and I'll put a testing in there.
Yep.
Adam.
Yep. So yeah.
Testing. Now you see me in chat.
What's your background, Steve? It looks very official there. You're sending off a rocket.
It's the Starship Enterprise.
Ah.
So
I have to shut off the sound.
So sorry to interrupt. We have a real question here from Albert. Do I need to register for the class or just click on video to join, like walking into a real classroom? Yeah, exactly. It's just like walking into a real classroom. You can just walk into whatever room you want and stay there, and that's how you join. You don't have to sign up early or anything like that. So yeah. So. Yep.
Okay. And I mean, we probably have a few newbies, but the great majority of people have been there before. Right?
Yeah. Yep. So, I was mentioning we probably will have, I'm going to guess, just based on the numbers last time, between 1,500 and 2,000 people will probably show up to this one.
Wow.
Maybe more. I mean, it's hard to know exactly. Hopefully more, but yeah, we'll see.
Did we get a little bump the last few days? I'll do my 1 day more thing tomorrow.
Yep, yeah, people are registering slowly but surely. So yeah, it's been pretty good.
Okay, let me
Cool.
go to my Zoom meeting, which is here.
Sorry guys, I'm eating dinner while we're talking.
Go back and forth. I was telling Nina about your trials and tribulations with the mover pool. She couldn't believe it, my wife.
No. Well, at least my wife is in. But my daughter moved her in today, so I'm here in a 2-bedroom suite all alone. Wonderful.
With furniture. Not yours, but furniture.
The bills are mounting up in the hotel, but what can you do?
You eating downstairs in the hotel?
Pardon me?
You're eating downstairs?
I couldn't hear you.
You're eating downstairs in the hotel? They have a restaurant?
They only have breakfast, so
Oh,
I pig out in the morning, and then the rest of the day there's a refrigerator. There's a whole kitchen system here.
oh, so you can
The
cook. Okay.
place is set up. It's a Hilton that's set up for long term for
Mhm.
people. So there's a kitchen and there's a living room and 2 bedrooms. I'm in the bedroom. Yeah.
Yeah, Albert. I'll just write it in for everybody else. Just enter the class.
Yeah, I asked an ethical question of the front desk. When the people come in to clean here, it's a different person every day. And the question comes up, when I leave here after 2 weeks, I'm going to give them a hefty tip. However, I don't want the last person cleaning to get the hefty tip. And they have no arrangements so far. The person at the desk didn't know how they would divide tips if somebody leaves a tip.
Really?
Yeah. So they
I
have
mean,
to
any-
call housekeeping now to know. And again, I'm not sure what's an appropriate tip for every day, but I'll try to figure that one out.
You could ask the concierge or the desk people what it is. Not
They seem clueless. I think most people don't tip help. Most people don't tip cleaning help anymore. When you go to a hotel, they don't leave any money in the room.
We always do when we're going on vacation or to a conference.
How much do you give a day?
I think it was $5 per person per day, something like that.
So $5 per person per day. Okay. It's a
Now
good
on a
start.
cruise ship, they build it in. They tell you not to leave gratuities unless somebody is super, special, and it's built into the price, and they get their tips from that.
Yeah.
I fear, Dad, that this is going to become a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode for you very rapidly.
Mhm.
This is going to be a disaster.
Well, not too many people are asking questions, just a
Nope.
few people.
Yep. Yeah, pretty straightforward questions here too, which is great.
Do you think the counter is accurate that there's only 16 people, or is it just it's doing what it did last time, kind of just choosing
well,
how many people count?
Yeah, let me see. I mean, it looks like it's fluctuating back and forth here. So yeah, 16, 18. There's people are coming in and out. I got an email from folks asking, can I show up whenever? I'm like, yeah, just show up whenever. It doesn't matter. I mean, we're just going to be here talking just to make. The whole idea is that we just want people to test their counts, make sure they understand how it all works. So, yeah.
If Audentio's listening, I want to start like Craig Steinberg. I'm a speaker also.
Right. So that's I just actually mentioned that to them. They need to rebuild permissions on all of the accounts.
Speakers?
And make sure that the people who are speakers have their own little star in the chat. So you can see, like, I have a star next to my name. So yeah, so everybody, we want to make sure that the speakers do too, so we can easily identify them. That was one of the other fixes in addition to putting in URLs and stuff.
Yeah. Well, this chat that you're looking at is the chat for the live stream, not the chat for the conference. That's why other people aren't seeing it.
Right. So again, the software is the same, whether it's, someone's doing a class or doing the lobby. So any fix that we make here in the lobby will apply to the classes as well. So like if a speaker waltzes in here, they should actually have a star.
Okay, Karen seemed to get his questions answered. Not too many questions. Again, most people know the playing field. If anything, it's been a little bit easier if everything we wanted to have any little issues.
Yep.
Is Richard Hackman, one of my classmates.
Oh, cool.
And let's see.
And so again, I'll put it up for everyone to see here. The just running, through what's going on the site. When you get to the homepage, you can obviously you're going to get to home. Up here, the first videos you're going to see at the top are going to be the ones that are like happening immediately or in the near future, right? So it's basically sort of like when you log into a Hulu or something. If there's something live going on, they'll put the top things that are happening now at the top. But then right beneath it, you'll see things that are upcoming as well. And again, they're working on that permissions thing right now where it says videos unavailable.
And if you want to prepare yourself, just click on the schedule on the left-hand side and look at the schedule for the whole day, and you can pretty much know where you're going at any particular time and switch from track to track, etc.
Yep, exactly. Very straightforward. And again, I recommend that people print the schedule. I know it's like ridiculous and old school and low tech, but like printing this PDF or having a copy of this PDF on another device, like on an iPad, incredibly useful. By the way, the schedule, one thing that's sort of frustrating to people is that classes can move right up until almost the bitter end. Now I've locked the courses in place, like they're not going to move, but we had to make schedule changes as late as yesterday, where someone had to move. So for instance, like you can see Joe and Bruce here had to swap classes, had to swap times because Joe couldn't make it later. So I had them flip-flop. So if somebody downloaded an older schedule, they're not going to see that change. So hopefully everyone, and again, I'll remind people when I'll send out another e-blast to get the latest schedule to make sure that they know what's going on and who's going to be where. I think there was another change as well. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah. So Murray and Michael swap spots as well. Again, they just flip-flop their times. So Murray's
They
going
know about
earlier.
this.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, they requested it. So the way it works is that the speaker, if I had my druthers, I would never move anything ever. It would just be a carbon copy each time. But obviously, sometimes speakers have problems where they can't make it at a certain time. So I just tell them, look, if you have an issue, all you have to do is let me know, and I'll do my best to move you around. So that's what happened there. We moved them around. Hopefully, it won't make a huge difference to people, but that's how it went.
But just imagine the puzzle that Adam has to put together when you have 60 hours of lectures and everybody wants a certain time and get everybody satisfied and to piece it all together. So thank you.
It's challenging. Like for instance, like I'm trying to look here. Like there are some people who only want to do things in the morning. Other people only want to do it at night. But the good part is usually they let me know months in advance. Right, so if that's the case, it's much easier to work with. And then we have other people who literally do not care. I think some of the people who care the most are folks like me on the West Coast, because this thing really starts early if you're out here on the West Coast. I mean, 7 a.m. is so annoying on a weekend. So,
and people like John Nolan, who's in Great Britain or Scotland.
Right, no, he's in Ireland actually. So yeah, so he always requests the 10 a.m. slot here, and I always give it to him. Because
it's what, 4 o'clock in the afternoon?
Exactly, yeah. So I try to make it as easy as I can for him.
Yeah, if you gave him the 6 o'clock slot, he wouldn't be happy.
And Peter says hi in the chat. Hey, Peter. Good to hear from you.
Yep.
And yes, hopefully this will be fun this weekend. I mean, it's always fun. It's just to me, what I really love about doing this, especially now since we started working on the new software in 2021, is just watching it evolve and working with really talented folks. I mean, it's putting together all the material and getting the schedules together. That's kind of irritating, but obviously a necessary step. But it's really fun watching the software actually work. and seeing the way people interact with it. To me, that's been the most fun part of these last couple of years. And they're starting to rapidly evolve the software as well. So you can obviously tell that the performance is better than it used to be, but they're going to be adding new features too. So it's pretty exciting just knowing that as we move forward, we'll be able to evolve it to meet sort of exactly what we need it to be.
Mm-hmm. In a few years, everybody will be wearing their helmets and be able to walk around our beautiful 3D facility and shake hands with everybody.
Well, one of the interesting things, and again, I can talk some inside baseball here because who cares, right? There's only 20 of us and we're all good friends. You'll notice that for the actual lectures themselves, we have to use external streaming providers a lot of the time to get the appropriate amount of bandwidth. So for instance, like with the lectures, you think about the number of hours of video that we're pushing. If you have 2,500 people or whatever watching this is a huge amount of video. So we have to use third-party providers for that to interface with our platform here. The platform itself now will have first-party video as part of it, which to me is going to be a great thing once we can start using it. We get charged by the company who's pushing that video. In this case, it's Vimeo. A fair amount of money, right, for the amount of bandwidth that we're using. And it also makes setting everything up more complex, having to deal with a third party. So being able to push that video first party, I think, is going to be one of the most interesting things that we do over the next couple of years, if we can keep everything on the platform itself and not have to externalize it. That's going to be really good. And again, it's a big technical challenge to do. I don't want to understate it. If you remember the old CEwire from 2019 or 2020 or whatever, that platform tried to internalize all the videos, and I think everybody remembers that occasionally it would just run out of steam, right? The bandwidth would get saturated, the videos would stop running, it would be incredibly annoying. So it's a hard challenge. So I'm glad that we're going to be able to try to do it with this software, where they have a really good technical plan worked out to make it a reality, so we can stop relying on companies like Vimeo and frankly even the live stream that we're using right now, right? To do the lobby, we use YouTube. You can even see it probably right in the corner of the video. And I don't just do it because I'm cheap. I do it because YouTube, has really good streaming facilities for live video. So that's why I chose it to do the lobby. I've never had an availability problem with it, but still it would be great to get off of it and to be able to use our own tools instead of having to rely on them.
It's still really challenging to attempt to do something live with the speakers actually giving a lecture for the first time. Everybody's listening for the first time because there's so many things that can go wrong.
Well, yeah. So the NORA conference, if anyone remembers it, the NORA conference was pretty unique actually. No one's ever attempted anything like that before or since. If you remember, NORA had 3 live tracks running, right? So that was with speakers actually giving a PowerPoint live. Each track had its own lecture, so there were 3 tracks running, and each one of those lectures had either 2 or 3 speakers giving that PowerPoint, because people wanted to tag team on it, so they would team up. So we actually had 3 separate streams, live streams running, and then rebroadcast from here, from our little headquarters here, and then streaming out. It was one of the most technically challenging and stressful things I've ever done, and I would never want to do it that way again.
And nothing broke. But the great
broke.
thing is, if somebody had a question or they felt like they had to go back, they can go back and kind of be control of their slides. It wasn't just a presentation. It could be changed at a moment's notice.
Yep. Yeah, it was horrible though. I mean, just in terms of the technical stuff that we needed to do to get live stuff running versus pre-recorded video. We obviously have the facilities to do it, but I don't think we're ever going to do something like that again unless a group like NORA asks for it and they want to do it. But that was during the depths of the pandemic, right, where organizations like NORA were absolutely desperate to be able to hold their event, in a way that was somewhat similar to being there live. So.
But it was a few hundred rather than several thousand that we have. It would be a tremendous undertaking, and the bandwidth for people listening live would.
Well, what's interesting is
tremendous.
Several hundred versus 1,000 for the software would have been the same, just about.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's once you cross that threshold and you're doing it, yeah. because of the way we had it set up, even if we had thousands of people, it would have worked. The limiting factor, actually, and the thing that scared me throughout the whole thing is that my office, right, so ODwire headquarters, which is what you're looking at around us, was the hub for that live video. So literally, I had 3 sort of battle stations set up, each one hosting the stream, where the speakers were connecting to that PC and controlling their PowerPoint decks on that PC. So, we even had one of the lectures where one of the speakers was in Europe, 2 were in the US, all simultaneously controlling that one PowerPoint from that PC. They'd give the talk there. It would then stream out from that PC out to the streaming service to rebroadcast to everyone inside of the CEwire, or the Nora, I guess, as we call it, software.
Wow.
And so we did that 3 times. We had 3 separate battle stations running. I have a picture of it somewhere. The way I set it up, they were all running next to each other with all 3 streams running, and they were functionally independent units. And for those 2 days, I just sat there staring at them as we were doing our little lobby thing, just hoping and praying that none of them crashed. I set the 3 PCs up identically, like literally down to the same hardware and software running on them. So they were literally identical machines, just to try to minimize the chance that there was something odd that would happen with one of them. So,
Well, nothing did.
yeah.
You do it kind of with your webinars in ODwire, though. You did it this week where it's a live lecture, and it worked out fine.
Yep. Yeah, so imagine something like that, but then taking that webinar as you're doing it live, restreaming it through a platform like this, and doing it 3 times simultaneously. That's kind of what it was like. And doing it for 8 hours at a shot, right? Because Nora went on all day for 2 days, or 3 days.
And depending on the lectures and the speakers to control it and be somewhat IT savvy.
Yep, so that's why I had to sit here actually and kind of watch what was going on. I had headsets set up for each one of the stations, so I could periodically just listen in to make sure nothing disastrous was happening. So that was not fun.
That's
It's
funny
now
after the fact.
8:02 Eastern Time.
Yep.
Time to say goodnight?
Well, I was gonna give it another 10 or 15 minutes here. I just want to make sure that anyone who wanted to come in can see. So Kim, thank you for those kind words. Yeah, and we look forward to having you come back and to get a few more hours this weekend too. And again, if you need more, we're going to be back in June, and we'll be back again in September for sort of last licks, so people can get everything that they need. And then who knows what's going to happen in 2024? We might have, a bunch of new features. Obviously, we're going to have all new lectures.
And please plan your schedule, because we're going to be going on in June and September again. So if your biennial, if your state ends things at a particular time and you're already full, wait till the next time to go to it. I'm from New Jersey, and we're ending April 30th. So we're going to have a lot of people in New Jersey in on this Saturday and Sunday, and then they'll relax for the next part. But plan your schedule around your state.
Yeah, and you can see June 3rd and 4th and September 9th and 10th. And again, the schedule is going to look almost identical to what we're doing here this weekend. We just repeat it over and over again. So definitely, as Steve says, plan properly. And just the question I had was, when do you earn the credits? So for instance, if you watch this weekend, even if you don't complete the surveys immediately, when you finally complete the survey for a lecture that you watched this weekend, you're going to get synchronous credit for that weekend, right? So it's going to show on your transcript as being done on Saturday or Sunday. That's different from asynchronous stuff. With asynchronous, the date of the credit is going to be when you've completed your task of watching the lecture and passing the quiz. Only when those 2 things are done does it get stamped as being finished. So that's a little bit different, the way it works synchronously and asynchronously.
And please appreciate, unlike other services, we send everything into Arbor for you. You can, of course, download your transcript and have it from the CEwire site, but we'll do everything for you as long as you do your job, which is do the survey, watch the course, and in the asynchronous, take the quiz.
Yep. So, yeah, and hopefully it'll all go smoothly, and so far so good. I mean, it's been the first one went really well, and I think this one's going to go even better. We always, I guess, we know where the bodies are buried.
So it's
it's,
first couple hours of Saturday were always interesting.
Yep. So again, like right now, you're seeing we have that little permissions problem with the lectures in this one. Like totally, that's. I've learned that these are the kinds of things that crop up when you do something new, right? It's usually permissions problems. It's sort of funny, and I guess if the tech staff is still here, though, I mean it's so typical, right? With Unix in general, it's funny. Like when you're programming something or you're doing some system administration, it's 9 times out of 10 if something's not working right, you set your permissions wrong. And it's the same thing here with their platform.
Mhm.
It's like, oh yeah, permissions are set wrong, but it's a matter of configuration, not not being an actual error. So we just have to make sure everything's configured right. By tomorrow, again, if people come back here and look at the classes, they'll be able to download all the handouts and reserve their times and stuff. So that should be
One
working by
question I
tomorrow.
have, if people are coming on now, could they take a course asynchronous at this moment, or is it shut off for this particular time?
So asynchronous still works tonight, but I asked the guys to shut it off tomorrow as we're working on the system. So if you can see on-demand videos are still here. So if people want to, they could take these asynchronous classes right now. But by tomorrow morning, I'm guessing, but certainly by the time I wake up, because I'm on the West Coast, this should all be shut off. And the asynchronous courses should be hidden and turned off, because we're going to be getting the servers and the service ready for the weekend. So.
And you will not be able to take them on Saturday or Sunday. It'll be back up on Monday, I assume, Adam?
Correct. Yeah, usually what we like to do is on Monday put them right back up again in the morning. So, yep.
With the same courses. And there is one course to mention, Dr. Malaiti, who couldn't make it last time. It's a 2-hour course on oculoplastics, and he'll be here. So whoever missed this course last time in February can take it now.
Yep. Yeah, I'm really excited about that one, actually. I listened to it. It's funny, he only recently finished it as well, so I was able to actually encode it yesterday, and I got to listen to it. It's a really good talk. Filled with images, which is what I love. I always love when people go nuts and give us a ton of images, and he definitely delivered. Some of those lesions are pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
Really interesting to look at.
I could attest. He actually cut some things out of my daughter and my grandson with me personally in the room. As good an oculoplastics man as you can get.
Really, I did not know that.
Oh, sure, yeah. He had a hemangioma, and she had something on her lid. I forget what, but the hemangioma was challenging because he had to do it in the way to not leave a scar, and he did a beautiful job.
Yep. Yeah, so he's a really great guy, and I appreciate him actually taking the effort to go do this. It's funny when he couldn't make it last time, I was kind of like gritting my teeth. I'm like, oh no, we're going to have this 2-hour gap. But then I remembered, oh yeah, we're doing this 4 times. So yeah. It really doesn't matter. There's always other content for people to watch. So I'm just glad he was able to do it.
Yeah, our speakers are pretty dedicated. We like them and they like us because we're nice to them and they're nice to us.
Yeah, well, I think what the speakers like about it too, once they've done, and Steve, you would know this since you actually speak at the conference, once you've actually done the lecture, right, you've actually substantially done like the hardest part, creating the lecture, recording it, and then showing up for the first time to make sure your login works. Once that's done, showing up the other 3 times is a matter of logging in for an hour, right? And you don't even have to log in. The system remembers you. You just show up at CEwire, show up in your classroom, and then you can just text with people for an hour, so it's fun.
Oh, it's so much better than giving a live lecture where people are raising their hand. You have to stop your lecture and answer their questions. Now you're at your leisure listening to yourself, and you can answer their questions in the chat forum, and it just works so much better. You're not interrupting yourself in the live stream.
Yep. Yeah. So pretty cool.
That's great.
I think the speakers like it.
It's actually interesting. I've done this for many years now with you, but it's interesting the first time you do it to listen to yourself speak, and you said, "Boy, I sound pretty good. Or I sound pretty lousy." This is a PG show.
I think actually that's probably the hardest part for some of the speakers is like the tech challenge. I've had more than one occasion, I won't name the speakers, right, but where I've had to walk them through actually doing a lecture where they had difficulty with PowerPoint or PowerPoint was just acting up. And finally, I will always try to service them by setting it up so that I just record their screen. And I actually get on a remote session with them, and I'm like, you just start talking. Advance those slides. I'm recording everything that you do. And just pretend that you're in front of a group right now. Don't worry about the actual recording process or anything like that. Just pretend you're just doing a lecture in front of a bunch of students. And sometimes you have to get it done that way, just if someone's having trouble with the tech. But it's completely worthwhile. In fact, I'm trying to remember, we did it once at Expo. Now that I'm thinking about it, I had one doc who's like, I can't figure this crap out. Okay, I'm going to be at Expo. You're going to be there? I'm like, yeah, I'll be there. I'll bring a laptop. And I just sat him down in front of it, and he did it. And I'm like, all right, cool. That's the way to do it.
That was LCT?
Yeah, that was LCT a while ago. So yeah, he doesn't care. But yeah, And he's like, don't make me work for it. I'm like, all right, I'll help you out. And if I'm there, I'm happy to sit down and record with you. So, maybe I'll do that at the AOA or something if somebody has a problem, if there's a new lecture they want to record.
And sometimes we have teams. We had Craig Steinberg and Dr. Chudna,
Yep.
who were lecturing on private equity, and they had to get together from different areas of the country. He almost went out to Hawaii, which would not be a bad trip to go to record a lecture with his teammate.
Yep. So yeah, they're both gonna be here. I was speaking to them, so they're back to answer questions. So yeah.
So you guys don't know what happens behind the scenes to get this all together.
Oh, it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of drama.
Not just one day.
A lot of drama,
Well,
but it's all good. And the pandemic in some ways, I think, accelerated a lot of people's knowledge about how to do this. So I remember in the beginning it was a lot more challenging, where people would be very nervous. Now most people, it's old hat to them. So yeah, it's gotten a lot easier.
It's almost like a telethon that you see on TV. Once the September lecture ends, we're pretty much into the next year doing 2024.
Yep.
At the same time, we're finishing up 2023. So it's a year-round proposition.
Yeah, I mean, so once September's done, it's going to be Expo West time, and that's when we start soliciting people for their next lectures, and we have to go out and start, the whole process over. For me, actually, the busiest time is between Expo West and maybe the first of the year, right? Because it's setting up all the lectures. Sure. It's getting things approved by ARBO, which it's got to get that done. It's getting the tech together again, right? So as the platform improves, we have to make sure that we haven't had any regressions or things are going to work the way we need to. So it's getting the platform set up. So the bulk of this work really does happen in the fall into early winter. And then it's kicking back and trying to make sure we actually have an audience, which is the other hard part, right? Because with no audience, there's no conference. So,
and we try to have great speakers. We also try to rotate them in and get new ones also, whether it be younger, older, different backgrounds, just so that it's not stale.
Right.
And the speakers have to get a lot of stuff in also, and that's challenging, getting them to get all their P's and Q's dotted.
Yep. So, but yeah, they're pretty good at it though. They're getting better, certainly. They're starting to understand the cadence of doing it too. I think the more lectures you give, the more you understand ARBO's process and how long it can take to get stuff through. And so our speakers are usually pretty good about it. We don't have too many, I remember when we first started doing this, the late fees that I would end up paying to ARBO were just astronomical. So for those who don't know, when you file something with ARBO, the rush fee or the late fee literally can be 3 to 4 times as much as the regular fee to getting a lecture approved. And I remember in the beginning, it was constant, we were just constant late fee, and it's just the way it was. Now, most of the speakers understand that they need to get it in, and it hasn't been a problem.
That's why when you go to a local conference and there's no COPE number, it's because you can get a state board approval in 24 hours sometimes. And,
right.
You won't get that from ARBO, that's for sure.
No, it takes a little longer. Good part is though, because we do so many credits, I'm on good terms with the folks at ARBO. I work with them a lot. I'm actually going to be attending the ARBO meeting in June at AOA. So, we can sort of stay abreast of what's going on with them. And if they have changes, we can, get to them early so we know what they are. So by fall, we can make sure that everything's in place. So. Cool. Well, I think we're just about at the end here. I'm not so sure that we need to stick around much longer. I think
no more questions, and
the
room is almost empty.
Yeah, and it's
any final questions, anybody?
Going once, going twice, and I guess from my perspective here, technically everything looks good. We've had one dropped frame this whole time on our stream, on our end, which for us is pretty good. So. So I'm happy with that. So technically, it looks like the live stream's running well, the software is running well, everything seems to be happening here. I'll make sure that the permission stuff is fixed tomorrow with Audentio. I'll probably catch up with the guys in the morning, my morning, and we'll shoot in again and we'll make sure that everything works. Because, and again, the first hour on Saturday, stuff happens, it always does. But hopefully this time, it'll be super smooth for people. So.
You're going to be starting at 7?
So I'm going to get in, I'm going to start our stream, this little chit chat in the lobby, a half hour before the actual classes start.
6:30.
So yeah, so I always start the stream a half hour so people
You're on
can.
Central Time, that Paul. Remember that.
That's right. You're on Central Time now, so you get a little break, don't you? You don't have to suffer as much. So yeah, so I'll be here a half hour before classes start in the lobby so we can get going that way. And the folks at Audentio will be here too to kick us off, I'm sure, just to make sure that we have everything in place and we'll be good to go.
Okay.
So
Somebody has a question about what's the different color courses signify. I didn't even know we had that.
oh, the colors mean absolutely nothing. So if you look on the schedule, sorry about that. Yeah, I completely forgot that I did that. So if you look on the schedule, let me show what we're actually doing here so you can see what I mean. On the schedule itself, you see the colors. It's almost like the map problem. They mean nothing. I just wanted different colors not to touch each other, right? We wanted to have like,
Okay.
so that's really what this is. Like I didn't want to have two of the same colors next to each other. So
Yeah, but he brings up a good point. I might encourage you next time. Everybody's always asking me what's therapeutic, what's orals, what's narcotics, etc. Maybe we'll have some color code for each lecture. Hi.
yep, yeah, no, that's actually a great idea. So yeah, for
Yeah.
2024, definitely, that's something I'm going
We
to
could
do.
do it. We could do it for Saturday. I'm kidding. Once you get some sleep.
Yeah, can you even imagine my hair? I'd lose what I have left. So a question here from Peter, we'll be able to access our credits recorded to date. Yes, you always can. So again, to get your credits that you've actually taken so far, you can either go to where it says transcripts and you can see a list of all of them. But the better way to do it, the more formal way to do it, is if you go to CEwire2023.com and click on certificates up here. If you click on that, you'll go to the certificate center, and that is a permanent archive of all of your credits, and it's printable. So it gives you these really cutesy-poo certificates that like you can print out individual ones, or you can print out the entire list. And that's going to be permanently stored in the certificate center on ODwire. So this is permanent. This will always be here.
We have the last 3 years as of this now moment, but we'll keep on going on in perpetuity, hopefully.
Exactly. So this only covers the last 3 years because of when we switched over to the new platform. The old platform couldn't do this. This is one of the reasons why we switched, right? Is the flexibility of working with Audentio and coming up with software that could integrate so closely with ODwire was incredibly important. So yeah. So pretty important.
And for a state audit, it's great. You'll get your stuff right away and not have to worry about archiving it yourself.
I have a question, but what does the competition do for these certificates?
Some do nothing. You have to print it out. Some might send it to Arbo, but nobody does anything like we do, where they archive it.
And Arbo wants permanent archives too, which is one of the reasons why I was so adamant about doing it. They want you to hold your data for 6 or 7 years. So Peter, you can actually go right now and go to the certificate center. Like I said, it's permanent. If you took any classes back in February, the list should be there. So go to CEwire2023.com, click on certificates, and you should be able to pull up anything that you've already taken. It should all be there.
You don't have to log in, Peter, either. Just go to the certificates on that page.
Yeah, because you're already logged in. The fact that you can actually interact with us here means that you're already logged into ODwire. All you have to do is go to CEwire2023.com and click on certificates in green at the top. And you'll get right to it. And Andrea actually just has a question, a course, how do I sign up for? So again, you don't actually have to sign up for any course. You can just show up and enter the room and you're automatically in. So there's no need to sign up ahead of time. So don't worry about that. If you want to, the software, you can add it to your calendar, but you don't need to do that. I would just recommend, and what most people do is they download the calendar, right? So they go to where it says schedule. They click on schedule, which gives you a PDF. They print out the schedule, and then circle what you might want to go to, and then as the day unfolds, just go into the correct room, and you'll get to the lecture that you want. That's all you got to do. But there's no reserving a space or anything like that. We have enough space for everyone. In fact, I think, I got to ask Audentio, but I think at the last one, like we had a high of over like 800 or 900 in a room. I was watching those numbers go up, and I was like, oh my God. How is
It's
this
an A room with other tracks going at the same time.
Yep. So, but it works just fine. That's why we don't force people, a reservation system or anything like that. You can just show up. The software can scale to meet as much demand as we have. So feel free to just come in.
Yeah. Even the speakers are amazed. They said, I can't believe I'm lecturing to 1,000 people. And I don't have to be worried. They did it.
Yep. Yeah, it's just a different way of teaching. I think it's pretty cool. All right, well, I guess that's it. If there are no more questions, I guess we'll be taking off, and we'll see everybody, I suppose, on Saturday, I hope. But if there are any questions, just as an FYI, you can always send an email to support@CEwire2023.com. So if I go to the CEwire site, you can sort of You can
Okay,
see the support
good.
email address. So, and yeah, so just come and, look at the site. By the way, the course descriptions are there as well if you wanted to. I'm scrolling through them right now. If you want to see everybody's
Speakers and the bios.
in the bios and everything's there. And you can always just send us an email, right? So if you have any questions, just send an email to support@CEwire2023.com. That actually goes to me. So you're getting me personally, so I can answer whatever questions you might have. And we can go from there. If it might take a few minutes for me to answer it, or depending on what disaster is unfolding, a little bit longer. But I always try to get back to everyone. So thanks again, and I guess that's it. So I'll see everybody